right. Welcome to the Playbook, where we bring together experts from different fields to share their practical strategies, experiences, and lessons to help leaders succeed. We're not just discussing the problem, we want to understand the playbook. What should leaders be thinking about? What actions should you take? And what mistakes should they avoid? In today's episode, we're going to talk about artificial intelligence and why getting AI right requires more than just investing in technology. It requires a focus on people, culture, governance, and risk. Today, my guest is Tawana Townsend. Thank you for joining. I will let you introduce yourself because I know who you are, but for the masses, introduce you and what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So thank you for having me. I am Tawana Townsend. Reside in Alabama, but I support folks all over the U.S. And I like to consider myself the human layer in an organization's AI strategy. And so, what does that mean? My concern is to ensure that AI serves the people in the organization and not the other way around. And so I help organizations define their business strategy um, and how AI can uh, help them get to their strategic goals, how AI can be integrated into their workforce in a way that is not only safe and secure, but also ethical and aligns with their values.
Okay, well, great, great. Well, let's jump in, but let's start with maybe a softball question because people may recognize the last names. Are we related?
Well, I am your younger, um, better looking sister.
Mm, there you go. There you go. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yep. So yep, we're siblings here, and so to maybe start, that off. How did it feel growing up in the house where you were the least favorite?
Wow.
Okay, let's jump
Um,
in. You don't
uh,
have to answer that.
no, but I will say though that what my childhood really like with you. You're a great mentor. Always learned a lot from you. Still being inspired by you today, and I think that our parents raised two, you know, pretty decent human beings.
They
And
did. They did.
yeah,
Yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
yeah,
All right, now
clean that up.
let's get to what the people are here to talk about because this topic is everywhere in every industry, artificial intelligence. So there's my first question: why do so many, let's say, strategies fail? AI strategies, fail. Um, is it truly because of the people, the culture, is it the operating model, is it technology itself? But you probably just replace AI and put in any projects, but specifically AI. Why do you think organizations struggle with this?
Um, well, first, I think that there's a lot of hype around AI. And when leaders are being pressured from maybe boards, they see all the noise out there. They want to be innovative. They want to get ahead of it. Sometimes they rush to make these adoption and integration decisions. But at the heart of AI adoption and AI integration is change. The technology is secondary. And I think you kind of alluded to that in stating that whatever the technology is, and we've all dealt with technology transformations in the past, you really have to address that change um, in terms of the people in your organization. What fears do they have? What concerns do they have? What opportunities do they see with adopting AI? And making sure that you address um, any fear, any anxiety surrounding that. Is AI going to take over my job? And really, not just coming in and stating, oh, no, you're going to be fine, but really addressing that and taking the time to talk about what your vision is for adopting AI. In terms of the processes, what processes are we hoping to improve with this AI adoption? Identifying that early on and not afterwards, I think, is really key to a successful AI adoption strategy. How does this fit within our organization? How is it going to change our culture, the way we work, everything that we've built over maybe the last 5 years, 10 years? So I think really just looking at it from um, just this change and how people, how humans deal with change, how they may resist it, and the reasons for it, I think are really important. And so I have an organizational development background. And so to me, I look at AI as, this new shiny product, but really it's no different than any other change that is being implemented across the organization.
And let's come back to that one, but I think you hit on the point where I I want to talk about the employee trust, because I listen to different podcasts as well and read things about AI. How do you think leaders, who's ever the lead for AI, build that employee's trust to say, hey, we're not here to take your job. Yes, roles may change. Before an organization takes all of that on and roll out these AI tools, I think that is an important thing to tell people because they are hearing things. It's not going to take your job, but then they'll go to another site and they can say, this is going to automate your job away. So where's that balance? How do you think leaders should handle that?
Yeah. So let me make sure I understand the question right. So how do leaders balance that,
Yeah,
the fear
yeah,
or
yeah. Building that trust
building
with their
trust?
employees. When that employee may be going into the unknown, right? I could be automating the job away, but in reality, maybe I am making myself better. If it's going to force me to get new skills, something's going to change with the way I do things with AI. But I don't have to be resistant to it, right? So how do you think some practical ways organizations can take to handle that?
Yeah. No, the key word there, I think you said, is trust. And so I think being transparent. Um, if you have a vision, share that with the workforce. Um, if you are unsure and you have some uncertainties and you have some questions, that should be shared. Um, I also think that as a leader or as leaders, you have to take a stance um, in terms of, are you considering AI integration and adoption to replace employees? And if your answer is, we don't know what it's going to do, we really just want to improve our organization, then you can share that and make a commitment and a promise to approach AI from a efficiency standpoint, um, to reduce errors, to automate certain tasks, and state that. But we're going to adopt it in a way where we're not even looking at headcount. Um, be committed to really choosing a pace that serves your organization, so that you're spending more time observing. So observing before you actually adopt the tool or the model, observing what's working now, what's not working. Why do we need to become more efficient in this particular task or this particular area? What measures are we hoping to get by adopting AI? And observing that before, and then doing some observation during and after. What has changed with the workflows? What has changed with the culture? Um, Employee relationships, where you've spent a lot of time doing leadership training and team building. How is AI now impacting, um, all of that work that you have done? Will there be labor intensification for your employees? Um, and I think that, again, that just comes with being transparent about where you are, um, sharing the vision, having a clear vision and a roadmap. Um, yeah, and really assessing and bringing in your employees into those discussions. allowing them to share feedback on what's working, what's not. Hey, we thought that you said that this tool was going to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and it is, but I'm
Hmm.
also noticing that I'm becoming less effective.
Hmm.
My thinking has changed,
Yeah.
or my ideas weren't accepted by my supervisor, which I have seen, those cases because they want me to use the tool.
Hmm.
And so, how are you going to address those things? And again, I just think um,
Yeah.
being transparent and taking
Yeah.
the time to observe what's going on in the organization is going to
Yeah.
be key.
Yep. And I think, maybe going back to the original question, AI projects failing. That's such a broad thing or term to say an AI project failed. What is an AI project? Right. Because I've seen organizations, they will maybe give employees, to give them comfort, I guess, to use things like Copilot, Claude, or whatever, so they can experiment. So it's not, traditional IT projects that may have been, hey, we're going to implement this one big system. It's going to take us 3 years and it's stopped halfway through. So failure, right? But now you have people trying different things, right? Doing different things and bringing those to light. So I guess, is it a failure? And I guess maybe the other part of it, I think to your point, that's that trust that we talked about and that transparency. Like, hey, I'm not telling you exactly what maybe the AI strategy will be. I'm looking for you to define the use cases. Where can you be more productive? Where is there a lot of waste and inefficiencies? So I don't know. Maybe that is just rethinking what is an AI project, and are they truly failing? If we're just, or is it more just experimentation right now? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that's a really good point. And when you think about the relationship between failure and innovation, even
Mm, mm,
that
mm,
a lot of times we have to have these failures in order to become more innovative, in order to improve and get to that solution that we're looking for. And I think again that goes back to the culture where you're allowing your teams and your employees to explore it, uh, use it for different use cases, and to have the agency to decide when they want to use it and when they don't.
mm, mm.
Um, you know, and some people aren't comfortable with using it because they really don't understand it.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
think that we talk about AI literacy, and we're going in and showing someone how to use a particular tool, but they don't even understand what an algorithm is,
Mhm, mm.
outside of their, YouTube algorithms. Like they know that something pops up, and they don't know what the intent was for them to get, access to this particular tool. Am I not doing my job well? What's the goal for me in using this particular tool? And if it is just exploration, how do we allow for, you know, um, failures to occur and mistakes to occur so that we can learn, so that they can learn, everyone is more familiar with um, different use cases.
Yeah. And I think that's a good, good point, and maybe a good segue where you're saying, I think that is that balance. People need to increase their efficiency, right, in AI. Their understanding of AI, maybe organizations can help. Maybe you'll see things starting to have more required training just with some fundamentals. What's a large language model? What's, X, Y, and Z, even though they may not be building certain things. But I think we need to start using it. So that kind of leads into maybe my question of, well, we want people to explore, but we don't want to stifle that curiosity and that innovation. So where does governance play into this? What is AI governance? We may have different terms, than that. How are you defining AI governance, and why is that so important for organizations to get right?
Yeah, so of course, there's all kinds of different definitions out there. I got my certification through IAPP, the AI Governance Professional Certification, and they have a definition. But to me, it's essentially the policies, processes, practices, and procedures to ensure that AI is designed, developed, and deployed responsibly. And that's going to look different for every organization, right? But to me, it's really about the culture, and not in necessarily the touchy feely kumbaya, we are all one team. But I think, you can speak to this too, that as a cybersecurity professional, you want to have a culture that prioritizes security. And I think in terms of AI governance, it's making sure that it moves outside of the IT department. It moves outside of the software developers and permeates throughout the entire organization, where, maybe part of your culture is exploration. And what does that look like? And how are we empowering people to do that? But it's also, well, we want to make sure that we're protecting employee data and the data of our clients, our organizational data. Um, you know, Privacy considerations, making sure that we're compliant with um, our organization's policies that are already in place. We don't
Hmm.
want to adopt AI and now all of a sudden we're violating the policies that were, established, but also specific industry, um, uh, sector, local, state, federal requirements. And I know that they're constantly changing right now, but really just staying abreast of those and then operationalizing them so that we can take this policy and come up with, steps to take in order to mitigate any risk of violating these policies and regulations. Um, and also just going back to ensuring that we have an AI literate workforce. That's part of the governance strategy and piece as well. Um, Not just saying, hey, go take this training, but again, really understanding it. And I think we have to, even because AI is different, we have to look at how we're building literacy across the workforce differently as well. Creating maybe pods where people can play and explore together, because this is new. And because
Right. Right.
I there are going to be certain individuals who are going to be super users, and then you're going to have those who aren't as familiar. Well, how is that going to really help the organization? What does that look like across
Hmm.
the organizational culture? Um, yeah, ensuring that we understand accountability, ensuring why we understand as an organization why we have guardrails in place. What could happen with trusting particular AI outcomes, becoming too dependent on AI, and so what are those strategies that we have to put in place in order to minimize and mitigate those risks?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, those policies, like you're saying, it's the North Star as to where we're trying to go, because otherwise, you don't want to be making decisions and guessing every time you're faced with a a different situation here. So,
Yeah, their
but I
starting
know,
point.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Definitely a starting point. That's what I would
It
tell
is.
someone to do with AI. But a lot of us try to skip past that, right? We get distracted by the new shiny thing. We want to play with it, and or get the new whatever technology TV, and we don't want to read the manual to set it up properly, right? So
Yes,
it's
yes,
kind of
yes.
related to that. So yeah,
Yeah, and it's
yep,
crazy. We're all guilty of it, I think, to a certain extent, but you wouldn't want a builder coming in building you a home and not
mm,
looking at what are the
mm,
risks that could go wrong if I put
yeah,
this in. And that was probably a bad example because now I don't know how to build a house, but
yeah,
you really want to understand the tool and understand, again, how it can benefit us, but also how it can cause harm.
hmm,
And what that really looks like in the day to day operations, what that really looks like in the organization. Because we see different incidents, that come up in the AI incident database. But I think just collectively within your organization, if this particular um, threat occurs or this particular harm occurs, what are the second, third order effects of this to our organization, to our team, to our
hmm, yep. No, no, well said. So as we, close here, I want to make sure everyone knows that, you specialize in helping organizations navigate these, type of challenges. So what does maybe your approach look like, or how do you help organizations turn, these responsible AI principles into practical actions?
Yeah. So I like to start with really understanding the organization. Again, my background is in OD work. And with that information, I'm looking at where you all are today. What have the past couple of years been like in terms of turnover, change, uh, maybe even, some technologies that you guys have deployed in the past? What issues you're currently having? Essentially, I am doing an AI readiness assessment to see before we even talk about the tool. Let's get a good feel for and a good baseline for where you are today and where you're trying to go, just as an organization, even if AI didn't exist. Um, I also like to look and identify AI use cases that will actually get you to where you're trying to go now that you've kind of defined that. Because you don't want to just deploy these tools and say, oh, we're using AI, but it didn't really improve anything, or the improvements were minor, or it's not getting you towards your goal. So yeah, definitely looking at AI use cases that are specific to your organization, making sure you're documenting those various workflows, um, so that you know where you can use particular AI tools, um, helping with risk mitigation strategies, governance strategies, um, and especially with smaller organizations that don't have like full IT departments,
Hmm.
nonprofit organizations. Um, you really want to make sure that your data is secure, that you're adhering to various privacy laws, industry laws, especially those working in those sensitive industries, like medical, um, insurance, housing, etc., and education. And then helping them to create AI adoption roadmap and change management plan. Because again, to me, that is essential in order for uh, AI adoption and integration to be successful and sustainable, and in order to ensure that it is going to serve your organization. And so maybe today you're excited about it, but you're not ready. What do we
Hmm.
need to do to get ready? When do we need to do these things? Hey, this just came up. What should we do about this particular challenge or this new service that we want to offer? Those are all the things that I'm working through um, an organization's leadership team with in order to develop their AI strategy, but develop it in a way that addresses um, risk, security, ethical considerations, and that organization's culture and.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Something you said there. Are you ready to do this? And I could see if the organization was in the Fortune 10, they
Yes,
want to be first and lead, and everything.
yes,
But everyone else is not ready to do that, right? They don't have the same capabilities to sprint, out that way and pivot, if something goes wrong. So, yeah, I think a lot of organizations will definitely need that. And sounds like you're gonna have your hands full for a while, with this year. So,
yeah,
so
definitely. Seeing some organizations are ready to get started, but their data isn't right. Their they don't even have a full understanding of phone systems and triage and just some basic things in place. Folks are scared to use Excel, but we're telling them to use
mm,
Power BI
mm, mm,
and AI empowered tools. And so, those are the types of things. And it's nothing to be shamed about. And I don't want organizations to feel like they're getting left behind. And so that's where I can come in and help you to get in a position where you're ready and where it's going to really benefit your organization.
right, right. Well, Tawana, my sister, thank you for joining today and giving our listeners today a peek inside the playbook.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's and it's ever changing, right? Governance is ever changing. It's not a one time, one and done document. Yeah,
Yep.
and we're
Yep.
gonna continue to all learn and get through this together.
Yes, as we will, because we're all learning this together, learning as we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again. We appreciate you. That's my cheesy exit sound bite. So.